I want to compare and contrast a story of two practitioners. One is in a major urban area, and they really like to practice what I call efficiency medicine. The other practitioner is quite different. Their aesthetic is very warm, inviting, welcoming, and slower. This is about the courage to practice differently. This is about moving beyond optimization and avoiding bypass and burnout. Welcome to The Catalyst Way, the podcast for women clinicians ready to clear the chaos and create space to flourish. I'm Dr. Lara, a former burned out family practice doctor turned mentor, author, and professional calendar whisperer. I help women in medicine reclaim time, trust their intuition, and build practices that actually fit their lives. Each week, you'll get practical tools, creative strategies, and tiny shifts that help you color outside the lines and paint a work-life masterpiece of authentic, aligned joy. If you're a clinician in the integrative or functional wellness space, you're probably feeling it. Patients are confused, practitioners are tired, and it's noisy. And I'm seeing this cause a lot of confusion and hesitation in the practitioners that I coach, whether it's inside my Catalyst Studio mentorship or in the various roles I play as faculty in two healthcare systems. What we're struggling with now as practitioners in a wellness space like functional or integrative medicine is we don't know how to discern. We want to show that we're different and we're unsure how to clarify that for our patients or prospective clients. So in this episode, we're going to slow it down. There is a way of practicing that can feel aligned. It can feel ethical and honest. You're showing up as your authentic self. We're going to walk you through a reflective framework that I used in my private Catalyst Studio that will help you find your healing strategy, your healing modalities, basically clarify your own healing philosophy so you can stand above the noise. And then your signal can be amplified to those that resonate with you. Because when you're clear on how you practice, your patients feel it, and then the noise doesn't take over. And the best part of this episode is I'm starting to infuse exactly some of the coaching modalities I offer in my mentorship, which is an AI prompt that you can use and partner with your own AI coworker, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or whoever you use, and then it can help you build this healing style. So let's dig in. Okay, so as always, we start with a story. Now this one, all the details have been changed to protect any of the people that you may recognize. I want to compare and contrast a story of two practitioners. One is in a major urban area, and they really like to practice what I call efficiency medicine. Now, this is not like a patient mill, but it's really efficient and linear driven. Each patient has the same labs. They walk in, they have the same kind of experience through this whole clinic, almost like they have a checklist of things that they're going to pass through. Different testings, different modalities in the office. And then this practitioner really prides themselves on details and data and all the nitty gritty. It feels very almost futuristic, let's just say. And the clinic reflects that. It's decorated in very glossy aesthetic vibes. And you can imagine the heels clicking on the granite floor, all of those things. And it matches the way that this practitioner really wants to practice in a very efficient and almost future progressive style. Now, the other practitioner is quite different. They're more of what I would say a grassroots kind of country doctor style. Their aesthetic is very warm, inviting, welcoming, and slower. They allow longer appointment times. They have a few set templates of how their patients and clients would interact with their system, but it's not as data driven. It is discernment driven. This person's clinic also reflects that in the way the furniture is very soft, very worn, almost think like a comfortable college coffee shop. There's community flyers on the wall of events that are happening locally. And so if you imagine these two practitioners, the patients going through their system are going to get different care and different outcomes. And it's not to say one is better than the other, but they're going to have a natural resonance with a certain type of population that will pick one or the other. And in this time of flux where the wellness industry can be pretty harsh and kind of like the Wild West, no two practitioners are alike, even in my own Catalyst Studio. It's really important for you to understand not which camp am I in, because it isn't that simple. There are so many colors and possibilities of how you can show up with your own healing style that will attract those patients to you. You can imagine the kind of waiting room that each of these practitioners would have. So in that first example, imagine probably people in suits or in workout fitness gear on their lunch hour from a corporate job. They're in that waiting room ready to get their latest data, to download their fitness wearable and quickly get that 15-minute appointment done so they can head off to their Pilates or bar class. Whereas the other practitioner, they might have a waiting room where it might be a mom with a kid on her hip, or it might be somebody that is perimenopausal, sandwich generation, taking care of their elderly parents and their college kids, and they're hopping in, waiting for their appointments. They've got a couple other things to do on their afternoon off, like different vibes. And so as you're looking at this whole differentiation, people will learn things differently based on these experiences. So patients are coming not necessarily for the protocol, they're also coming for the kind of invisible healing vibe that you give. And like I said, neither of these two are right or wrong. But what happens is you might feel frustrated when you're not getting these ideal patients or clients in your door, or you're feeling like you're covered with all the noise going on in the wellness industry. And you're not sure how you can distinguish yourself from the rest of the crowd, especially if you live in a town that is naive of what functional or integrative practices really entail. You might get lumped into this generic definition, and that's not really how you practice. And I see this all the time in my role at the Catalyst Studio Mentorship or the School of Applied Functional Medicine. People are coming in going, okay, I know my modalities, but I still feel very unclear. I don't know how to describe what makes my practice different. I don't really know how I can keep adding things instead of refining. And that's a problem that I see a lot of practitioners do when they're not getting those patients in and it's not feeling easy, then they add another training, or they add another modality, or they pay for an in-body, or they just start grasping at straws instead of really getting clear on how they want to portray and to double down on their healing modalities. And before you say, okay, this is another episode about marketing, it's not about marketing at all. Not at all. This is about architecture. This is about how you build your healing style and how you're going to make that ideal patient feel, and how you can survive in this kind of really unfriendly wellness space where everybody seems to be trying to signal their virtues in different ways, and they disagree on different outcomes or the ways that people can attain health, not to mention the world. It's not accessible for everybody to have organic meals or to have, 3 hours of a morning routine every day. And it's also, frankly, offensive to say that that's just going to get you healthy. We need to recognize the human in front of us and the community that we're around, and make sure that we're trying to recognize the reality of the situation and meet them where they're at, but also not burn us out in the process. And here's the thing, especially in a cash-based model, you are the healing product. It's really less about the services you offer, and it's about how you show up. And when you're clear in this healing style and this healing philosophy, it just all clicks in a way that makes everything a lot easier. So let's dig in and help you find this courage to practice differently. Most of us were taught to lead with credentials and certifications, and this is where I went to school, this is where my training is or my fellowship, and here's my license, here are the tools I offer, the tests that I have in my clinic. All those things, they're important, but this is not what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about your healing style, which is best described as those things that people feel from you, your pace of speaking, your presence, your language, all of these things, how safe people feel around you, how aligned their goals are for your goals. And think again about those two scenarios. That first scenario, people are going to be really well aligned with that goal of this longevity optimization urban clinic. But if you take somebody out of the waiting room of that other second practitioner and put them in there, it would feel really off and odd. And it's not wrong. It's just you want this right fit for you into your community and the patients that you work with. Hey Catalyst, I want to share with you a free resource that gives you a small window into the work that I do at retreats. It's called the Catalyst Energetics Map, and it's a simple visual map to help you notice what state your nervous system is in and choose a creative activity that fits that moment. This is the same framework that I use in immersive retreat spaces, but it's distilled down into a one-page tool so you can start using it right away. It's not the full experience, but it will get you started and understanding your inner signals better to make more confident decisions and live your life to the fullest. You can download it for free at drlarasalyer.com/create. The Catalyst Energetics Map can grow with you as you understand yourself better and avoid burnout. Download it free at drlarasalyer.com/create. And thank you for coloring outside the lines with me. Okay, and I'm going to actually go a little out of order. We're going to do the studio time prompt right now. Studio Time is the 90-minute mastermind that I host every Friday inside my Catalyst Studio mentorship. And this is where we come together and we spotlight decisions that might need to be made. We crowdsource opinions. We cut corners so you're not making the same mistake that many of us already made. But then we're also grounding it in practical and efficient use of AI. So we have a prompt that you can choose to answer on your own, or you can partner with your AI coworker. And this is a new enhancement in addition to the legal lounges and the Catalyst coaches that we have inside our mentorship. We do this AI work. So it really helps speed up your process of growing and scaling a membership practice. So each of these episodes are going to be sharing some of my studio time prompts. And we're going to say it out loud right now. It's also in the studio notes here in our Catalyst podcast. And then I'll also repeat this prompt at the very end. So if you're walking your dog or folding your laundry and you don't have access to a notebook, I will repeat this prompt at the end so you can write it down and play along with us. So here we go. You ask your AI coworker, if a patient chose me not because of my credentials, but because of how I practice, what 3 qualities or approaches would they say define my healing style? Okay, just go ahead and enter that prompt and see what output it gives you. And this is what usually emerges. And this is what happened inside our studio time is we were noticing patterns that showed up. It was like the AI, especially if you've been working with something like ChatGPT for a while, it starts to understand you. It starts to see which of the choices you choose that they give it. And it starts to create this brand experience of you, this kind of knowing of your thought process and your heart and your values. And so you start to see these words come up. And what's great is this is what happened in studio. People were noticing words like steady, spacious, translating, empowering, gentle, but direct. These are just examples. And these aren't necessarily skills, but this is what people can expect to feel with you. This is a way of being, and that's what is going to set you above to practice differently, to have that courage of saying, this is who I am, and this is how I believe the best medicine should be delivered. And so you're already doing this, and you're already shaping your practice. What we're doing here is bringing light to it so that you can actually see with clarity exactly the words that match what you're already doing. The other thing is it will help you see, wait, that's not my intention, right? Like you might see things pop up that aren't really your intention. And if we don't take this opportunity to really inform ourselves of our own values and style that drives our healing philosophy, then we're more likely to have friction and we don't know why, or have resentment or exhaustion, and we don't know where that came from. And it's simply because we're working against ourselves. And so this is so important because as you're outlining your style, yes, you can use it on your website and your social media. Yes, but I guess we could say it's empowering yourself. You're embossing your memory and your soul with exactly what you want to have as the outcome, as the feeling that patients have when they work with you. Okay, now that you have generated some information from your AI coworker, pause, and let's use the framework of the SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, a very common business model that helps us identify where our business is in the ecosystem of other businesses like ours. And we're going to use this to build your healing style SWOT. Okay, this should take about 5 minutes or so. And you may want to get either a document out or paper, or again, if you're walking your dog or folding laundry, just come back to this. Look at the show notes. We'll put it in there. And so this is where strategy comes in. And your healing style is really great because it makes an incredible SWOT foundation. So let's start with strengths. What feels effortless to you, right? Think of those two practitioners. The one in the urban setting with the, granite floors and the quick, efficient 15-minute check-ins with data might love this because data is great. They have that numbers kind of brain that just finds numbers so fun to play with. They love looking at trends. They love generating reports and showing patients, look at this, here's your improvement, and out the door you go. Now, that same experience in the other practitioner who has a more homey, kind of a coffee shop atmosphere where there's more intimate settings, a more of a relationship, not as efficient, but definitely deep, that would feel really off-putting to have all those numbers for them. They might outsource that to somebody else. Maybe they have a health coach that likes to look at trends and numbers, but it feels like effort to them. Okay. And so what we're asking you is your strength. What feels effortless to you? Not what you think should be a certain way, but what is so easy for you. I'll use my own example. I love making infographics. I love putting words and explanations into picture form for patients. I love condensing overwhelming functional medicine information into a one-page infographic. And I started doing this in 2016, 10 years ago when I was studying for functional medicine certification. I was having a hard time remembering which of the supplements or nutraceuticals or phytonutrients and how did that work. And so I started making these one-page handouts for myself. And then I decided, wait, I could do this for patients and attach it to their visit summary. And then even further, I used it during lectures, and then now I sell them. And I make one about every other month. I have about almost 80, I think 75 different infographics, and it spans all the different functional medicine topics. And it's great because it's effortless to me, but it makes it so easy for me to have quicker visits, to explain things with clarity. Now, somebody else would look at that and go, that's maddening. That's so effortful. But we're just talking about you. What is effortless to you in the way that you deliver your medical care? And if you still can't figure that out and you're like, it kind of all feels like there's effort, well, then think about what do patients consistently thank you for? Okay. For me, it was the explanations. Patients would say, thank you for that infographic. That was really great. I showed my husband or I showed my sister and it made so much sense. I knew I was onto something. That is the way I like to practice medicine. I use creativity as a tool. For you, it might be patients thanking you for that recipe that you suggested that came from your kitchen because they said, I've never thought to use, monk fruit that way. Or maybe patients are thanking you because they felt really seen. You take that time, you look in their eyes. What do patients thank you for? And let that inform you of your healing style strength. Okay. Now let's move on to weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. So that same strength can actually lend itself to a weakness. So sometimes let's use that practitioner as the example of looking in your eyes, helping that patient feel seen. That can lend into overgiving, burnout, right? The wellness and integrative functional medicine space is 50-50 because people have to actually learn different skills or eat differently or have different habits. So it's not as authoritarian as the conventional model is, which is take a pill and I'll see you in 3 months. And so it's easy to burn out because of overgiving and having lack of boundaries. That would be that example of that one practitioner. Whereas let's take that first practitioner in the glossy urban setting with the efficient, fast, linear clinic. Their weakness could be there isn't much of a relationship. It's like a double-edged sword. Yeah, you're efficient and you get the data, but there's not much of a relationship. And that can be okay for people that want that. They aren't seeking that. They just want the data and they just want some quick changes. And there we go. They're highly motivated already. They may not even need much support. And that's worth recognizing. So thinking of your weaknesses can take a bit, and you may want to go back to your AI coworker and ask, what would you say my weaknesses are as a practitioner? Where could I have some need to look at my structural integrity? Where am I weak? Where could I falter? And this can go on. This could be a whole podcast episode in itself. So we'll move on. After weaknesses, we have opportunities. These are services that align with your style. Okay. It's not trying to have you step into a person that you're not ready to become or have no desire to become, or certain types of medical service lines that don't interest you. It's about stepping into these opportunities. And this is where a membership makes sense. Memberships are great. And I have been teaching the membership model for over 5 years to practitioners in the Catalyst Studio. And this model is built with flexibility right in. It's built with this ability to be robust and resistant to economic downturns because it's flexible. Memberships are great because you can geek out about whatever passions you like, and you fold it into a membership. You fold it into whatever tier you like. And so it gives you this capacity that if you are, let's say, that practitioner who has that homegrown grassroots kind of community-based clinic that has a lot of time, but also has opportunities to participate in community agriculture, farm to table benefits, all sorts of endeavors, let's just say, so many things. This allows these opportunities to be aligned. You'll more likely find them the more you can identify these opportunities that align with your values and with the kind of practitioner you would like to be. Whereas the one in the urban setting, they might align more with other expos or companies or corporations that are looking for this kind of care. Doing like a company-wide wellness booth, would be ideal for that practitioner. They're fast, they're efficient, they like data. Think of these as opportunities that you can increase your signal and your visibility. You can amplify where you are in this wellness space simply by using that litmus test of, okay, now that I know my strengths, where are these opportunities that I could really look into, and how could I fold them into a membership? Okay, and finally, threats, right? This is where, if you're late night scrolling on social media, we can register all the other people in the wellness space as a threat to our system, which is so false. You are the only you. And there are no two practitioners alike. I can say that with full truth after mentoring hundreds of practitioners. Everybody has their own little bend and their own little way of being in the world. Even if you both prescribe hormone therapy, even if you both specialize in perimenopause, even if you both have the same modalities, you're different. And so threats, copying someone else's model is never going to serve you. Building it from scratch is the only way that helps you stay true to you. Now, the model that we do in the Catalyst Studio is a framework that you add on your own, but there are some consistent ways that you can show up. And the threats, if you start to look at all the ways that people are doing things differently, and then you try to compete with that, it's going to make your essence diluted and make you feel less special. So here's another thing is asking your AI coworker, where am I threatened in the way I practice? The idea is you're never going to not have threats. We live in a capitalistic system. Threats are everywhere. It's built into the system. So being a little fish in a big pond, I had a clinic, have a clinic in a small town. There's big medical systems right down the street, but I'm not viewing them as a threat because I am so clear on my strengths and how I use my opportunities to leverage. And I'm so clear that that is no longer a threat. I'm not trying to compete with that volume or that kind of patient demographic. The people that enter my clinic are so different and so honed in that it's invitation only, and it's a lot of ease refinement. And so when I work with practitioners who are starting to straddle burnout, we often go back to this healing style framework of the SWOT test to see where is their misalignment. Have you been starting to look at threats and then trying to copy and incorporate them into your model? Do we need to go back and look at your weaknesses and maybe shore those up, or maybe outline the strengths and show you that you're doing a great job? We just need to really double down on those. So after you've done this SWOT analysis, I want you to just pause and think about how a membership can help you bolster this and really help you create longevity in the way you practice medicine. So your healing style will then inform, after you've figured out your healing style, it then tells you how long are your visits going to be. It's going to inform your boundaries and access to you, whether you want to do group visits, whether you want to have policies around messaging and tone. It will inform all of this. Okay, now that you have a better idea of your healing style and philosophy after completing the SWOT analysis, we can move to really understanding how a membership is the ideal fit. So memberships are not just about patient access, but it's also about protecting providers so that we can continue pouring from a full cup, not get burned out. We can continue finding joy and enthusiasm in the way that we serve our community and our patients. And so your healing style is going to inform you of all those tiny little itemized things in a membership level or levels, like how long is the visit length, or what other modalities would you like to include in this? Do you have group access to group visits, or is it just one-on-one? Are you going to work with a health coach? What are your boundaries? What are your messaging policies? All these things are going to look different now that you better understand your healing style. And it gives you more confidence to then walk into that and set up a membership with such great discernment. This is also how we can see the tale of two providers. A relational clinician like that second one, who has that grassroots coffee shop kind of community clinic, is going to have a hard time trying to run a high volume care center like the first practitioner who's in the city, who is a visionary that loves looking at data and just let's get you optimized and out the door. People love that. They attract those kinds of patients. That provider would go bonkers if a patient tried to ask for a half an hour to an hour of their time. Do you see how this is where misalignment can lead to burnout? And so if you're sitting here going, whoa, maybe I'm starting to feel burned out because I am not so clear, this is the time to protect your energy. This is exactly why memberships are important, because again, it's not just about that patient access, it's about protecting your energy. And it's less about pricing the membership and more about aligning the different expectations that are in each level. And even with that, you can have one level of membership. One. You can have two, you can have three. I would say no more than three, but I'll link some other podcast episodes that you can listen to more on how to set up your membership. But this is all about getting this healing style locked in so that you can communicate and you can really embody your ideal healing path for the patient. So in conclusion, the tale of two practitioners: neither are right, neither are wrong, but both understand their healing style. And you can too. If you repeat this exercise, I would love to hear what you learned, especially if you use AI, because here's the thing: when you better understand your healing style and philosophy, you have that courage to practice differently. You rise above the noise that is going on in the world. And it not only helps you strategize your membership offerings, but it creates your culture. Your staff feels it, your patients feel it, your neighbors feel it. And the systems that you design will support it better. You'll have less burnout. You will be making easier decisions. And this will be rooted in confidence and not despair. So let's review that prompt again. If you've made it all the way to the end of this episode, I would love to share this prompt again so you could play with it in AI, and then we'll put it in the show notes. Here we go. If a patient chose you not because of your credentials, but because of how you practice, what three qualities or approaches would they say define your healing style? Okay, you don't have to fix it all at once. Just start to be observant. And definitely subscribe, because next episode, the prompts are going to get even more juicy. I've been really enjoying the community dialogue that happens and a lot of the solutions that are provided with each other. Nothing can ever take the place of humans. And yes, we use AI prompting to help us build our business, but really the magic in how practitioners are successful comes from us showing up together every week. And that magic of us being the glue, helping each other make decisions with clarity and reflect and mirror back times of strength and help support in times of weakness. Going alone, you can only get so far, but going together, we are changing the way healthcare is run. If you would like to become a part of our Catalyst Studio, please click the link in the show notes. Go to drlarasalyer.com/catalyst. Check out our programs. There are many options. You can either get one-on-one coaching, just one-off coaching with me. Those are the Catalyst Advantage sessions. You can also join our year-long mentorship for integrative and functional medicine practitioners. That's called Catalyst Studio. But either way, we're here to help. Remember, you don't have to fix this all at once. This is the beginning of showing yourself how you can step into the greatness that is you, your unique healing style. You will have that courage to practice differently, and we need it. Healthcare is suffering, and the more of us that think differently, that have the courage to practice differently, the better off we all will be. If you need some extra help, I've got a free assessment that will take a quiz and then match you to supportive material that can help shore up those weaknesses that we talked about. So go to drlarasalyer.com drlarasalyer.com/inspire. That's drlarasalyer.com/inspire. And I'm so glad that you're here coloring outside the lines with me. Until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful day.